Donald Trump has said that this is going to be a long war. And basically, if you see his tweets, I'll put out a graphic on a few tweets of his. He's preparing everyone. He says, no problems if oil goes over $100 a barrel. This is no problem according to Trump. He said this is a small price to pay for the war. I put that differently. And he says anyone else who thinks it's anything more than a small price to pay is a fool. So Donald Trump believes that everyone except him across the entire world is a fool. Ladies and gentlemen, I reserve my words. I shall say nothing about Donald Trump. But I will say one thing tonight. He should rethink his words. When he thinks of the money that's wiped out, which rough estimate is 8.5 lakh crores. Ladies and gentlemen, when he says this is no problem, the war should continue for a long time, he must rephrase that. He should now begin to say that there is absolutely no problem anywhere in the world. If the whole world is in a state of shock, as long as Donald Trump's personal ego and narcissism is under control, as long as he's feeling all right personally, there is no problem. Ladies and gentlemen, when he says only fools would think differently, when he says it's a small price, let me tell you what small looks like. And that is the number, 8,50,000 crore rupees wiped out from the Indian markets. That is Trump's definition of small. We were not consulted. We were not warned. We simply are paying for his war. We are paying for his understanding of the way he thinks the world should be. Ladies and gentlemen, the one number that tells you everything about oil was $72 a barrel before the first missile flew. And look at it today. Nobody in the Gulf voted for this war. Today it has crossed $100 per barrel. Trust me, everybody, when they go to pick up petrol, diesel, are paying for it. You are paying for Trump's war. Our government is doing fine. We're doing the best. The government is doing the best it can in the prevailing circumstances. But somewhere we are all world citizens. Aren't we always told we are world citizens? We should have a say in what's happening in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sensex does not lie. The Sensex does not have a foreign policy. It doesn't have a side. Thousands of crores, ordinary Indians' savings, retirement money, all gone. Because America decided to settle a score. And now the media, the Western media, which has lost its spine a long time, is suddenly waking up to what we had asked earlier about an American missile hitting a school and killing 150 schoolgirls. That also, and you see the pictures of the children being buried. Dozens and dozens of schoolgirls for no fault of them. This is the price of America's war. This is the price for Trump's ego. Trump thinks it's all right. It's all right. A Tomahawk missile, an American missile, allegedly hits a school and 150 school children die. He says it's not a Tomahawk missile. What is this? If it's not a Tomahawk missile, Donald Trump. Children playing in their school were killed, destroyed, lives destroyed, and then being buried one next to each other. Children who should have been in a school laboratory. Schoolgirls who should have been doing physics and chemistry experiments. Schoolgirls who should have been in the park. These schoolgirls all wiped out, all killed. And Trump says it's all right, it's a small price to pay. We can choose to be quiet about it. And you, if you're watching the program today, can say nothing happens. It's a small price to pay. But this, Donald Trump, is not a small price to pay. Especially because there is no end to this madness. And Trump has lost control, in my view. Trump was told one thing and something else is happening on the ground. Pete Hegseth told him, he's the Secretary for Defense. Pentagon reports to him. Pentagon and Pete Hegseth told Trump that this is going to be over within 2 or 3 days. And now they do not have an answer. They do not have an answer, so they do the Rambo number. And they say, be prepared for many more people dying, be prepared for mayhem, be prepared for oil shocks, be prepared for economic disruption, be prepared for everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not bothered about the cost for America. I'm bothered about the cost for all of us. And I'm truly concerned that unless the world comes together and says, Mr. Trump, you have been unable to carry out a regime change. And proof of that is Ayatollah Mojtaba being made the supreme leader. And Vladimir Putin sending him a letter, standing in solidarity with him and saying, congratulations on taking over. The regime change operation has failed. If anything, ladies and gentlemen, if anything, all this money being spent, all the innocent people being killed, an entire region and the rest of the world, more than 30 countries drawn directly or indirectly into a battle, all based upon some wrong advice that Trump went by when Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon told him this would be over in 3 days, and they cannot deny it. The American media should start questioning what is happening. Because today, everybody is already realizing the whole world is being told to pay the price. Even before the strikes happen, even before February 28th strikes, the global institutions were already talking about a deteriorating world economy. Now imagine, with the war in full swing, what happens to inflation? What happens to fuel prices? What happens to the possibility of a global recession? And for what? Because Donald Trump thought he could play Rambo. Ladies and gentlemen, Asia will pay the highest price. India has a huge exposure. Government's doing a great job, but our LNG imports are Gulf-linked. We have emergency stockpiles. We are doing well, but all countries in Asia will be impacted. Ladies and gentlemen, civilians have been killed. I'm no peacenik. In fact, when it comes to strategic issues, I am a hawk. But this is a direct attack by the Americans, by all the people who are with them, who have no direct, clear strategic plan in sight. This is not about territory, this is about a regime change that's not happening, and hence the idea is to keep pulverizing Iran. If there's any plan that I see here, the only plan is pulverize Iran to a point where it basically turns around and says, we give up. And if that does not happen, is someone in the world going to ask Donald Trump and going to ask America, what is your plan B if that does not happen for 15 days? Ladies and gentlemen, the UN is not in control. All statements we are seeing from the WHO health facilities are protected under international law. But what has the UN, any UN agency, been able to achieve? They're talking about a major humanitarian emergency. Well, statements will mean absolutely nothing. The world is confused. It does not know how to deal with Donald Trump. Keir Starmer one day says, I'm not with America. Second day says, I'll send my warships. Then Trump tweets saying, no, thank you, I don't need your help. And now he's consulting and thinking about the economic impact that's going to happen on the United Kingdom. But I say, Keir Starmer is right. He's thinking about his country. And slowly, this is the way it's going to play out. Every world leader will be forced within a week or 2 weeks to stop taking sides and thinking only about their country and their people. And eventually, beyond Trumpland, beyond Mar-a-Lago, when this hits everyone across the world, when one realizes it's not about one supply chain, it's about one supply chain affecting another, then the world will have to come together and negotiate with Trump and tell Trump, maybe this was not right. Maybe at some point of time, you're going to have to call it quits. Dear viewers, we should not have to pay a price for Trump's plans going wrong. The people of America are already paying a price. Every single day, a country in huge economic crisis, with debt they cannot manage. Only the war machine, only the defense companies will benefit from this. And I'm saying this, I'm not a peacenik on strategic issues, I am a hawk. But when you do not have a plan, when you don't have plan B, and when your actions are affecting not one country or two or a region, but the global economy, then someone is going to have to step in and, as they say, bell the cat.